enjoy watching that intro. I hate how much I enjoy watching that intro, but I really, really enjoy watching that intro. Uh, it makes me really happy, and I've done that like probably like 4 times now. I've watched that intro, but it makes it sets the mood for me, and it's all about the mood, like all the time. And as you see right there, that's another fun thing for mood. My little headshot right there with the same MarkTalk on it. It's all good. It's all excitement. Today's gonna be a day that I've been wanting to do for a long, long time. Like honestly, like we got a guest today that is one of the best dudes I know. But we'll get there in a moment. If you haven't watched the show before and you like what you're seeing, you're gonna press a little thumbs up on the bottom, press like, you're gonna subscribe. We do shows 4 days a week. This week 5 because of special circumstances. And every day it's a different format, and that is really cool in my book. Today is our interview day. As you see in a little scrolly bar down there, it says interview day right there. And yeah, so today I have on a friend of mine that we're going to talk to in a moment, but let me see what else. Also, if you want to help the show, you can help the show at Venmo. You can Venmo me at Mark-Levy. Every dollar you spend helps the show, goes directly in the show. I've got a better camera. I've got like cool effects happening. And that's, it's nice. And like being able to use StreamYard on multiple platforms. If you're not watching this on the, oh my God, I can't even speak anymore. If you're not watching this on YouTube, you can be watching this on Facebook, or you can be watching this on Twitter or Periscope. Yeah, Periscope's still around. That's how that is. And that's what's exciting about that. But to get started, I'm paying attention a little bit because I do see that my guest just came back. But to introduce him, I can say so many words. Like, okay, so I met this guy the day before his first win in Sequester and his first game, and he has become a fast friend of mine. One of the better dudes out there. He's been a longtime supporter of MarkTalk. One of the best energies out there, and we need good energy, especially this week. I'm so excited. He's a 2-time winner, the first private and public winner in Sequester. You'll see him play on Saturday, I think at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm not sure. I hear it's an early time. It doesn't matter. I love this guy so much. The one, the only, Tommy Pezzulo.
It's me. Hi, Mark.
Hey, Tommy. How you doing today?
I'm good. I still might have to leave for a second. They weren't there. I was waiting. I had to do something for work, as Mark knows. But so I might have to pop out, and you can look at my beautiful painting.
Yeah,
right
I love that. I might be able to. There you go. Get a little bit more of the actual room if you want. See both pieces of art, not just the owl, but the lily pads.
Yeah, my roommate's dad is an architect in Buffalo, and he loves art and that kind of stuff. So he actually made that on, I believe, and on the computer. I don't know how he did it, but he made that art, and so I have a piece of it.
I really appreciate really cool art. Like my grandpa, before he passed, when he was in his retirement facility, he took up painting and he made some really cool pieces of art. One of them I have up here, one of them I have in Miami.
Yeah, there's the one piece I wish I could draw or something. I wish I had like a skill of some sort that was like I write and stuff, and that like that's a skill. But it's like I wish I could like my roommate can just like, he's an artist and he can just doodle something on a piece of paper for someone and be like, here you go. Like I wish I could do something like that very quickly, like show off, like not show off, but like give people things like small pieces of tokens.
I remember there was this one day I was riding on the subway, and like the subway is always just so fascinating with what you see. But there was this guy who sat down next to me, just starts doodling. And then I noticed he drew a pretty good drawing of me. And he's like, this is for you. If you want to pay me, you can. I got a little bit scared because that's a little bit of an intense thing, but it was a really nice thing to do. And I definitely gave him some money because I saw it was like harmless and it felt right. And it was cool,
Yeah,
like,
that's awesome.
Yeah. So how's your day been?
Good. I got up early and like I like to do like the stretch. Like I know you yawn and stretch, and you get up and you go face wash. I've been getting into face care. The Winners at War chat has been teaching me how to properly take care of my face. So I've been doing that. And I've just been working.
You just want to take care of it for sure.
Oh, thank you. I know it can be better. There's like I want the nice skin, but I've been working a little bit, made a nice spinach salad, and I went on a quick run during my lunch break, and now I'm talking to you. So it's been a pretty good morning so far. Day, I
Nice.
guess.
Do you have like a normal hours like with work? 'Cause I mean, I know you work in the entertainment industry.
Yeah, so I work in the entertainment industry, and it's obviously different now, right? Because we're all working from home, and so
Right.
like the hours are 9 to 7, but what I do to kind of counteract to be able to be part of this community, it's kind of a loose term of like as long as the hours are getting done, like if I,
Got it. Yeah, yeah.
you know
So
what
it
I'm
could be
saying?
like you have like 10 hours to work a day, but as long it doesn't have to be done in a 10 hour period. It just has to be done in a 10 hour period.
Yes. Yeah, like I can manage my time around what events and things, as long as the work is getting done and as long as I'm doing the hours I'm supposed to be doing. It's like obviously they want me for a good majority, like today where it's like they need me to, pick up this drive or something. It's like, so it's things like that of like being available, uh, in case they need to call me about something, that sort of stuff too.
That's cool. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
that's like the cool, in my personal opinion, like the cool like LA, like you're in it job.
Yeah, I love. I mean, it didn't come easy, but I love where my path has gone, and I'm excited to continue down it. But it's but even then, it's like I have many in my head. I'm like, oh, but I want to do this thing, and I want to do this thing. But I think with entertainment, especially, you find that you get at a certain point, you start to get more jobs and more jobs that are in certain departments, right? And
Yeah.
so for me, post production, I kind of now that I fell into because I always loved. For me, I always want to do a job with storytelling. I love storytelling. I love the idea of perspectives, of character perspectives. Like my mom always taught me that it's like everyone has a different perspective, and you have to realize that like you may not agree with them, but from their perspective, from their experiences, this is what they believe. And so I was always fascinated by that. So I always wanted to either be a director, a writer, or an editor. And so I love writing. That's like my dream would be to be a writer. I've moved to like Scotland and I'd write in little journals and stuff.
Yeah.
But post production was always fascinating because it's like you're the final storyteller. You're the person that takes everything else and you're weaving the final narrative.
Oh, yeah. No, like I remember before I decided I wanted to be an actor, like I didn't know if I wanted to direct or act or write, and like I remember because I did start with film. I used to make my own student films in my backyard with my dad's help and my friends' help, and I just remember I was like, oh man, I love directing, but I really love acting. Like,
Yeah.
it's fascinating how you can choose your own path to a certain extent.
I thought about acting, but I never felt like I'd be good. You know how you get in your head, and it's like, well, I don't know if I can do that because like my speaking is not the greatest, but I try my best. And so then I got into editing, and that's just kind of been going down that path, and it's an interesting career path, but like you said, it's fun to be freelance, but it's also like kind of scary. Like it's spooky sometimes because it's like you don't know if you have a job after a couple months.
Especially right now. Well, I mean, now things just seem like they're getting back in with a lot of like safety checks and stuff like that, which is great. Like I remember I was listening to a podcast and they were talking about how Superstore's returning in August. Well, returned in August to production, and I'm like, that's great. Like as long as it's all safe, and it's like they're doing the whole like everyday COVID tests and everything. It's like, I mean, as long as it's safe, that's my biggest concern.
Yeah, and that's a concern for a lot of us. Like, luckily, my being in post, I can kind of work from home, so it's not a big issue. But I know, like, my roommate does like art design, so he has to be on set. So that was a thing of his is like the show he's working on is starting back up, and
What show's that?
He is working on Shameless right now, actually.
Oh, great! I love that.
Yeah, show. Yeah, and he was very hesitant. He like, and I think he has every right to be of like, he wanted to make sure all the procedures were being, because it's scary. It's scary to put yourself out there right now.
Yeah. Let's talk about the past because I'm really curious because you're from Buffalo, New York, right? Yeah.
Well, around so I'm from. It's very easy to say Buffalo. It's like what most people do. It's like I start big and I say Buffalo because people are instantly going to think of New York City. when I say
Right.
if I'm from New York. So I have to be specific and say Buffalo, but I'm
And
actually
I'm
from a small.
assuming upstate and west. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm from a small town near there named Jamestown. But I actually need to go grab this drive real quick, so I'll be right back. If you want to talk about Buffalo,
I'll talk about Buffalo for a second. So, my opinions on Buffalo. I've never actually been to Buffalo, but I really want to go to Buffalo. I don't love buffalo wings because I'm most people. I'm not a vegetarian, but I'm actually very close to being a vegetarian. I think it's because I do not like to eat meat on a bone. I don't eat ribs. I don't really eat wings. I eat wings if I have to, but ribs I don't eat because there's never a reason for me to eat ribs. I really think that I'm like one of those people that's really like basically like one documentary away from being a vegetarian. But that's just who I am. But also, I don't eat buffalo wings because I don't like spicy things, and that's also who I am. Also, for the first time ever, I just saw Tommy's legs, which was very fascinating. I saw your legs for the first time ever.
are they nice legs?
They seem nice, yeah, yeah. It's a
Oh,
weird thing of
good.
like our whole friendship is like from here upward, you know.
I know. I do think about. I mean, you think about how tall people are, right? Like that's the whole thing of like.
It's one of those fascinating things, yeah.
But yeah, so you're talking about Buffalo. So I'm from like Jamestown. It's like an hour outside of Buffalo, maybe 2 hours, but it's really close. Like you go, everything. It's funny because hours don't feel that long in Western New York because it's very farm country heavy.
Uh-huh.
So I grew up there. It was a very small town. Well, even there, I grew up in a small town outside of Jamestown, even, and so I grew up in a small town of like 60 kids in my graduating class. Yeah, it's close to the Erie.
Oh my God! Wow! Like, so it wasn't even like one of those schools where people would like go from like different towns to. It was just a town school.
Yeah.
Also, I have another question for Marcelo for later, but
5'9".
Yep.
I'm 5'9".
I gather that. Yeah, you're like 5'9", 5'10"-ish, like average. Yeah.
I'm average everything. Like that's how I explain it. I'm average weight, average height. Like that's just cool who I am over here.
Average Tommy.
Yeah. But yeah, so I grew up in a small town. I like, even further, and I sidetrack all the time. But
You're good.
I was born in Pittsburgh with like my brothers. So I have 4 brothers, and then like I have a single mom. So like we left my dad. And she, my mom is incredible. Like I love talking about it because my mom, she took all 4 of us or all 5 of us away, back to her parents because she wanted to get out of a situation. And I can't thank her enough for. I mean, she's amazing. So we grew up in Jamestown / Mayville was like the small town that I was in. But
where are you and your brothers? Like, where are
middle.
you? Like,
I'm the middle child.
Oh, you're number 3. Okay, nice. That's gotta be fascinating. Like, grow up with, because I'm an only child, so like I don't have any siblings at all. But yeah, that must be fascinating. Too older and too younger.
It's interesting too because it's like we're all about like maybe 2 years apart and in each way, and then the youngest are twins. So and that's weird because we're only like I think like 13, 14 months apart. So wow. It was a weird experience because it's like I felt close to them, but I also like they obviously had a bond that I didn't have because they're literally twins. So it was a little different with that, and then also because of my birthday, I'm 2 years ahead of them school wise because I had a November birthday. So you can do that thing where you either like stay back a year or you jump into the school year early.
And they're basically at the very tail end. Because I've never heard of anyone past like October because I'm that way too. As an August baby, which it makes more sense in August. They can be like beginning or end.
Yeah, no, I'm a baby child for I was always the youngest in my school, but it worked for me. I actually it's funny because I think about it, and I was always someone that I feel like I was drawn to older people anyways. Like I was the kid that like when I went to camps, I always wanted to hang out with the counselors. Like I always wanted to hang out with people that were older than me anyways.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. I mean, I've always respected the elders, and I remember I don't really tend to lie. I don't lie to teachers. I don't do things that would get me in trouble with older people because I don't want people to think of me as a lesser person. You know?
Yeah, I the only time I ever got in trouble was I threw a sandwich in third grade. I was told that people would be my friend if I threw the sandwich at another kid. It was a bologna sandwich,
Oh wow.
and I did it, and I felt so bad, and I got lunch detention with the principal for a whole week, and
Oh man.
never did anything like that again.
I once drew on a kid's shirt.
What did you draw on the shirt?
Well, like, so basically he kept leaning his desk, like his seat back onto my desk. And I had I had like one of those pens that like had like a kind of like a marker tip to it, but not really. And I just like held it out there. So he kept basically drawing him on himself because I was just annoyed. So like, hey dude, stop doing that. I remember I got in trouble and I felt like the worst person ever. And after that, I stopped doing that. I was like ninth grade or so.
In your defense, the kid, personal space, especially nowadays.
Yeah, I mean, this is also like this is like 2000 when this happened. So yeah.
No, I know.
Right. So Marcelo might have either drawn. Well, I assume his might have been the sandwich situation because that happened with like a 10-second delay. So you and Marcelo are like long lost brothers in a way.
Imagine if Marcelo was that kid, but from his point of view, that would be crazy.
It was the third grade, was it?
Yeah, it was third grade that
we were older than Marcelo, so
it probably was a different third grade.
Yeah. I mean, guys both were East Coast babies, but not the same part of the East Coast. Like, yeah. I mean, like, see, I remember you. You had a mustache back then.
It's like that Drake and Josh episode where it's like, not to spoil Drake and Josh, but there was an episode where they realized they met each other as kids, and
that's always fascinating, stuff like that, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So where did you go to college?
So I went to school, tiny school, and like it was interesting. Like it was fun, but it was like everyone. Like it's like you couldn't hide in like a small school like that. And then I went to college. I went to a SUNY school because it's always cheaper. And I truly
actually a really amazing program.
Yeah, I was gonna say
I almost went to Purchase. I was considering going to Purchase.
I was set on going to Brockport originally. So I was like in my head, I'm like, it's gonna be Brockport. That's right.
We're getting SUNY nerdery.
She spoiled it, but yeah, I ended up going to Fredonia. But like, I was convinced I was going to go to Brockport, and like, I was planning on studying public relations originally. I knew I wanted to do something with entertainment, but I wasn't sure what. And so like. And then like my mom always wanted me to be a teacher, which I would still teach at some point. I love that kind of field. But I went to Brockport. I hated the campus. It just felt very concrete. It just didn't give me a warm vibe, Yeah. And then Fredonia was like on my list, but because it's kind of closer to my home, I was like, I don't know if I want to go there. And then I visited the campus, and I just kind of fell in love with the community. And I'm very much like a feeling person of like, if I feel good about something, I have to trust my tummy on that. So it's like, that's kind of how I felt. Fredonia was the right fit for me, and I loved it. I quickly switched over to the video productions program, and then I got pretty heavily involved in the radio station. So like that's where like my Twitter, like Tommy's Tidbits, comes from that, because I would do like a
fun fact thing, or
I would do, and it was sponsored by Pineapple Tidbits. And so
that's cool.
Well, it wasn't really, but I'd like to think that one day, if it got big, that's what I told people anyways. So if it got big enough one day, they would sponsor me and send me lots of pineapple. But it was like, I do like, everyone's got to trust your tummy. But I would do like a voice, like it's kind of my own voice, but I would just like, like make it more goofy sounding. Like I'd be like, welcome to Tommy's Tidbits, and I'm here to tell you about the sky. The sky is gray today. And it'd be like that, just like a very I just pictured him almost like Patrick, or just like a character that's got his head up in the clouds and he's just kind of doing his own thing. And so I did the radio, and then I was an RA. So like I got pretty heavily involved in the Res Life program at Fredonia as well.
That's cool. So when did you decide to? Because I know, like, everyone in the entertainment industry always has that massive debate, New York or LA. Was this like when you were deciding you want to go to LA or?
So for some reason I feel like when in college, and I can't remember the exact moment, but I feel like I was always like, yeah, I'm gonna go to LA, and there's always like tons of people that say that, but it never happens, right? Because it's a big move.
It's a huge fucking move, yeah.
And so I kind of always in my head was like, yeah, I just feel for me the difference was this. First of all, I hate the snow. Like I just do. I'm not a big snow guy.
And there's so much snow upstate, like so much snow upstate.
And I think it's because I grew up with that, where it's like you walk to school and it's like negative 20 degrees. Like I'm just not about it. And so that was a big factor about New York. And also just to me, New York City. And I spent a week there once, and I actually did learn to appreciate New York City. Once I like figured out the grid system, it made more sense to me. Yeah. But the congestion, it feels like everything's just very close and tall buildings. It's just like it feels overwhelming sometimes when I'm there, as opposed to LA is like more spread out. It's still like got its things, but I can go to small little like villages or little shopping areas, and it feels more like home. And I like the weather a little bit better. So those are my big things. And then career wise, I didn't think about it as like, I knew I had to just move out here and kind of figure it out. So like when I moved, I graduated, and I was supposed to actually move right after graduation with my actual now roommate. But at the time we were supposed to move together. And this was all a blessing in disguise, but basically the night before we were supposed to leave, he decided to tell me that he didn't think I had enough money saved up, because I think I only had like $2,000. And he was right, and he didn't know how to bring it up to me. So he did. So he ended up going without me. So for the next year, I just saved up money, and I actually went through like that's when I like a lot of people know this or don't. I was like 315 pounds at the time. So
wow, I did not know that at all.
Oh yeah, so I was super heavy, and like that year, this is where I say it's like a blessing in disguise. Like I saved up money, and I just started like doing small things to start losing the weight. Like I walked every day, and I started walking 4 miles, and that's actually how I got into Survivor. Is like I've watched it when I was a kid, but I got back into it when I was through this period because I would listen to like RHAP and the podcast, and I would just walk for miles listening to the podcast, and I started doing like intermediate fasting and all this other stuff. And so I ended up losing like 140 pounds, and in that year time period.
That's incredible.
Thank you. Yeah.
Like I mean, I have so much respect because, like, I mean, for me, like I've always been on the chubby side, and like I'm like afraid that like 'cause I'm like 20 pounds from being definitely overweight instead of just like a big dude with some weight on him. Because I'm 6'1" and about 250 pounds, so I'm like close, you know. And of course, with everything with the pandemic, I've been like, you know, taking care of myself by sleeping a lot and drinking more, and all that stuff. But yeah, no, I really respect the fact that you've been doing the walk workout way. What season of Survivor was your gateway back in?
Cambodia. I mean, it was such a good season. Oh, even though I didn't know everyone in it, it was just so well done. And Jeremy's like one of the players that I like. I love his game style. I just love the way it's something like
really I kind of from what I gathered. Like I have friends that met him a couple times, and they're like, he's like what you want him to be.
Yeah, it's definitely, and his strategy is something like I definitely used in my games of like, you know, keeping those shields around, and he's just so charismatic too, and I think that's something that like everyone talks about that plays with them. Yeah.
Like, I've never heard anyone say anything bad about Jeremy or Val Collins just because they're considered like two of the best out there. And yeah, you got an RHAP before I did. I didn't listen to RHAP until my friend Zeke was on Survivor. So.
Oh. Yeah. No, I got in and pretty good. But I was like, I watched Pearl Island. That was my first one, I think. But even then, I still remember like my mom would have it on. And I think I remember Richard. Like it was like little blurps. Like I feel like I came in and out at all times. Like it was like Pearl Island, and then I remember bits of Heroes versus Villains, and I remember
That's when I got back in. That's when I got back in. Yeah, because I watched the first 2 seasons, got bored during Africa, because I was like 15, almost 15 when the first season started. So like, yeah, I know that because you're old enough to remember it, but not like well, because you were like 7 or so when it started, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I remember of it, but I don't remember. Like I remember more about Pearl Island. Like I was a big Rupert guy because again, he was like I liked people that reminded me of like he was the bigger guy, and it's like as someone who grew up like chubby, like I liked what like seeing. I felt like I saw myself a little bit on there, you know.
Yeah, no, like Rupert's great TV. He's actually the reason he was like the straw that broke the camel's back to get me into Survivor, back into it. Basically, what happened was when I was working at Madame Tussauds in the city, one day the whole cast of Survivor Heroes versus Villains walks through, like right when it was about to air. And I remember I was like on my break talking with my friends by the concession area, and Rupert just said something like very Rupert-y to us, and I'm like, I think I want to give it a shot. And then, of course, Heroes vs. Villains, like, top 5 season for everyone in Survivor. So,
yeah, it was a great one. And like, yeah, and that's why like I'm so thankful for RHAP and Survivor in general, just of like, it got me, it helped motivate me. Cause also I was like, oh, I'll lose the weight to get on Survivor. Cause I always,
right,
like, I would love to get on. Like, I think that would be such a blast, but, who knows? But, then I started running and now I run if it's not too hot, I run outside. But then I moved. Me and my brother took a road trip. Actually, it was me and my brother, and we just drove across country together, which was really nice. But we didn't prepare. Like the one thing is like we were in Arizona, and I think we had like a tent and like one comforter, and like Arizona gets cold at nighttime, right? It gets real cold.
Yeah.
So we were real. I think someone ended up in the car. It was just like it was such a miserable time, but it was good to like hang out with them, and then we made it to LA, and it was like then I was just in it, and instantly it's like okay, now I'm here, now what? Because I didn't have a car. I didn't have a car. My brother drove, so it was like I didn't have a car. I was sleeping at my friend's couch for a week, and I didn't have a job, and I'm like, okay, I guess we're doing this now.
Cool. What got you into Sequester? I'm assuming as everyone else, but I'm always curious.
So it is and it isn't. So again, it's kind of like Survivor. I can go in and out. I actually watched the old school,
with like the .0s or
like the old school minis of like I don't remember which one, but like one of my friends through the Twitter universe. So like I got into there was a point where once I got back into Survivor, I was like, oh, now I want to do stuff like this. So I got into like a Twitter org for like Big Brother. So I played in that, and I met some people, and one of them was playing in Sequester. So I remember like back where they put the peanut butter on their face.
Yeah, and the .0 days, yeah.
And then obviously, yeah, then like most people, RHAP, when that one came out, I was like when Sequester kind of went into its rebirth, that's when I was like, you know what, I want to start playing. Because I actually almost applied to the peanut butter one. I think I contacted Audrey. She said yes, but then I ended up having to work that day, so I couldn't do it. And so I ended up not playing, and then the rebirth happened, and I saw RHAP, and I'm like, okay, maybe I'll play. But I was always nervous. Like, I was very hesitant to play Sequester because I didn't know how it was going to be perceived, obviously I think the other thing is we all are like, oh, we'll be good at this thing, possibly. Yeah. But it's like, it's the idea that I could be proven wrong, that maybe I'm not as strategic or not as social as I thought I was. And I think that was my biggest fear going into Sequester is like, what if this, because we all think that we're the hero of our own destiny or, journey or whatever. What if I'm not the hero in the story?
I understand that fully. Like when I first applied, I was convinced it was going to be great, and I got out third. So, I'm always like scared shitless whenever I play, but that's like part of the fun of it. But I remember it distinctly because I met you like the day before your first game, because I used to throw Sequester happy hours on Zoom, and I remember most of the fresh meat private mini that Dan Alt put together showed up, and it was like you and I believe Nick Chan and like a bunch of other people that like are like really cool in the community that I really enjoy talking to right before I even met you guys. And I remember distinctly, I'm like, that guy seems really cool. I remember like when I was getting ready to draft for like my draft Sequester, you were the first person I picked. And I didn't get a chance to watch that game, That's actually one of the few ones I really like. I should have watched. I did not see. But I remember like distinctly like being like, "You're someone I want to hang out with." Like that was like the thing that I knew, like that drew me to you, which is part of the reason why like I think our friendship grew so fast. You know?
Yeah, no, and you were someone that I was like when you had the happy hour. I'm like, I was so nervous about the. I find that as someone who is outgoing though, I still deal with a lot of and I try to be as positive as I can, but I deal with a lot of the same things of like I have insecurities, I have the fear of not fitting in, and I think a big thing for me was like this community is already growing, like it's already so big. Why would little old me like how do I get into this? So then it's like I was so thankful because that Zoom really did make me feel a little bit better. But even at the Zoom, I was such a nervous little Nelly there. I was like sitting.
I remember you were like quiet, just smiling and like laughing. Like you're like,
yeah. Because I'm like, well, it was like I saw some of you guys, so I was looking at so many icons. And I was like, oh, it was cool to just see people that I saw play, and. For me, I'm always a fan first. Like that's where my like anytime I'm playing the game, it's about having fun and I'm never gonna not be excited to see someone that I admire their gameplay and stuff. So knowing that, I mean, I remember strictly like you made me feel better. Lana was really kind to me in that first Zoom call and really made me feel comfortable. Jalen, who now I'm very close to, Jalen really made me feel like we had a really good discussion in that Zoom call and. Things like that. It's funny in retrospect now because Jalen is like one of my good friends. But she even talked about she's like I drafted him just because he asked me to. But it's like I never thought I would.
I remember you saying that like the Zoom call, like yeah, please draft me if you want or whatever. It's always so fascinating. Like both of the happy hours happened like in weird times. Like the first one was like 5 days after the 619 mini. For those that don't know, it was a really popular mini, and the winner and the runner-up and a lot of people in that game were like become pretty big icons in the Sequester community. And most of them were at the happy hour. I remember I got like starstruck when I met Katie. Like I tweeted at her a couple times, and like we are friends now. But it was that weird thing of like, oh my god, and like I really like it's so funny like with yours because I know that you were there. And like 5 or 6 other people, like and like it was
Ian
like right before,
Ian
was there, like it was right before like a whole bunch of people in this great game became something big. And I remember like it's so insane your trajectory of your first 2 games, like the fact that like you won the private mini, and then 10 days later you did your first Patreon mini, which. I'm not the biggest fan of the overall game. I'm not saying about like a bad thing about you or Geneva or anything in that game, but like I'm not a big fan of what the game made me feel. But I'm very happy with the outcome of the game.
Yeah,
like
I mean,
I don't think you were in. I think you were in a more controversial Patreon mini, where you got. I'm not gonna. In theory, you got lucky because the fact that you played a not much watched game. Because of what was happening. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I'm not trying to diminish your win or anything. But yeah.
No way, Mark. You're definitely not. So for me, that it was a whirlwind experience. So I played 716 and I felt good about that game, but like it's funny because like you said, not a lot of people watched it. I think it was the first night of a BB game, so people were watching that. There's a lot of things going on that night. And so I think part of me, the reason I wanted to I jumped into a Patreon game so soon was part of me is like as nice as and people did respect my win and no one said I didn't deserve it, but it was kind of the mindset of like and I talked about in my second game as I walked away from that game, it was like Ian's such a great character and this is Ian, I love him and that's the story was there are so many good characters. Ian should have been in the finals, JD should have been in the finals, but this final 2 is fine. We're happy with it, but it's like it's not what we wanted to happen. And so I think I walked out of it wanting to still prove myself a little bit because in my head I'm like I played a pretty good game. Yeah, it was like I do things. It's hard to explain, but I am constantly the way I think about it is almost like I'm in a maze. And like I see the way to the end. It's how can I get to the end as quick in efficiency and in the best possible way as with the people that I need to get there. So I'm constantly just correcting things as I'm going, and I'm always thinking about plan A, plan B, plan C, and I'm constantly thinking of what is going to be best for my game. And if someone, it's almost like a chess match where it's like, if someone does something that I see as a better move, it's like, okay, now I need to move that person up on my list because now they need to go before this person. It's a constant move.
I mean, that's just the way Sequester is, and especially with the way that your second game happened, like how the people that knew you played before you were working with, and a lot of people do not know that you played before, which was it was just a fascinating game, and I'm just so happy you won. I will always be one of your biggest cheerleaders, and it was just like the fact that you're the first person to win 2 games in a row in under 2 weeks is insane.
Yeah, it was 9. I think it was 9 days officially. It was
because it was 9 days in your time and 10 days East Coast time.
Yeah. It was 9 days my time, 10 days East Coast, and it was like, I mean, the second game was surreal. Like, obviously, that game, I enjoyed it. I understand how it made people feel, and like in rewatches, I think sometimes, and I was talking about this with someone, I think also the part that made it almost worse was you had the game right before that also had a very negative part in it, right?
Yes.
And then you have the exact same night, or the next night. So I think because it's layered on top of each other, it just perpetuated that feeling that people were already feeling. But
the easiest way to put it is, if you're ever in a competition game and you're a man, let the woman speak, and please don't be vulgar about it.
Yeah, that's the best. I mean, you know how I felt about it in the game. I literally almost threw my game away because I think there's a line in these games. Like, obviously, we're all playing a game, and I think it has been, it was made it has been resolved, but it's still, the issue is there's a line, and I think we can talk about people's games. And like, obviously, there's a certain point where you need to be like, no, but my game's better, or this person hasn't been playing. But I think there's a way to do it. I think words are very powerful, and there are certain words that you need to be careful about what you're using, even if they're good in your bubble. You are now in a bigger bubble, and you have to realize that words have power. But no, I mean, that game was fun, and I knew what I needed to do. Like, I knew that people either knew me or they didn't, and I knew the key was the people that knew me, I had to make them feel good. I had to give them a reason not to out me right away. Like, I knew I had to go find Geneva. I knew I had to find all these people in that game, because otherwise, like, I knew that information could not get out until Final 2. Like, I knew I was not going to get to the end if people found out I was a winner. I
mean, it's the reason why this is, like, we're almost at the end of, like, the Sequester talk for those that don't do Sequester, but, like, it's probably the reason why Owen couldn't make it past Final 3 last night.
Yeah.
Because he won 2 days ago.
Yeah. And it will be very hard for someone. I think I would love to see it. It will be very hard to someone win that quickly, and also to go 2 for 2. I don't think 3 for 3s. I would love to see someone go 3 for 3. That'd be crazy.
I mean, you do have a perfect record in not being voted out.
That's true.
I mean, I don't want to talk too much about ways that works. Because there's lots of feelings there. I'm very proud of the game you played, and you never got voted, and you've still never been voted out, and hopefully that'll keep up this Saturday. I want to talk about something that, like, fascinates me. We're going to talk about your crock pot.
Yes.
Because if I didn't bring this up, I would get, like, roasted by everyone, be like, why didn't you talk about his crock pots? So, like, how did you fall in love with crock pots?
Yeah, so, I mean, like, that's the thing, right? Because I kind of have
a bit, or is this, like, real? Like,
so it's kind of both. I do love a good bit, like, but I will say, like, my character, like, my persona is me. Like, I love my mustache. I love my Hawaiian shirts. Like, I always, like, I wear this, Yeah. And then the crock pot was, so I have always had an appreciation for crock pots. Like, I feel like growing up, I always slow cooked things, and it's just so convenient. So I got really obsessed with it for a while. Like, I would be making things, and like around that time period was when I started playing Sequester. So then in my first game, it was mentioned that I look like, / it's just really the hair and the mustache, but I look like Milo from This Is Us.
Okay.
So without, like,
I also heard Coach Steve from.
I know. I don't like that comparison as much.
I mean, you're funny like him, and you're both from New York. But no, Milo's a good comparison. He's a handsome guy.
I got Milo, and So not to spoil the show, but there at some point there's a crock pot involved. So I was like, okay, for this next mini, I'm just gonna put this crock pot in the background. It'll be funny. So like, yes, I do. And that was the thing is like it was a bit, but then I have now made it my like my whole persona of like I feel like everyone would have just forgot about it, but I'm the person that's like crock pot this, crock pot that. So it's like now it has become because I just thought it was so like for me, it's like after I saw like people like I think the Twitter made me so giddy afterwards because it was like everyone was like, okay, Tommy, great game. But I remember, like, why is there a crock pot? Are you making soup? Do you want your room to smell like soup? Like, we were like, is this like The Office where Michael cooks bacon in the morning? Like, do you cook soup next to your bed every day? And
yeah,
I just thought that was so. It made me laugh so much that I'm like, I'm just gonna keep the crock pot as a thing. And so like then when is it where I made the crock pot video and I just think it's a funny way to continue the bit and also like. It's fun. Like even today, like people are sending me crock pot recipes because I posted something about crock pot recipes, and it's like I'm gonna use them. I'm gonna look up every single one of them, make them because I think it's a good way to bring everyone together. Because I think we need more humor in our lives.
And I mean, this question was asked really early by our dear friend Marcelo, who might be a long lost brother of yours, or the kid that you threw a sandwich at in third grade, even though he's younger than you. Ask Tommy how many crock pots does he have. The world wants to know.
I have only one crock pot. It is near and dear to my life. I got it a couple years ago. It was from Target, I think, on Black Friday, and it is so old that it's the code or whatever to the hot, warm, low options have all been cooked off. Like it's been so hot that it just like I don't know, it's not there anymore. So we had a Sharpie on so we would know what each position is. And so I kind of like how it has character, you know?
Yeah. I mean, do you need a new crock pot? Like I can set up a GoFundMe or Venmo you some money if you want, or
I feel like it's like with when you get a car and you want to like ride it. Like I want to ride it to the sunset. I want to ride this crock pot until I can't ride the crock pot no more, you know?
Does your crock pot have a name?
It doesn't, but I would like some name suggestions. If people have name suggestions and they want to send that to me,
your cat is Ray named Pasta.
Yeah.
Which is the funniest name ever for a cat.
Well, that's a whole story too of like it was originally I wanted to name my nephew Pasta. And that's but I was told so my brother had a kid without knowing he found out
I think these are name suggestions, honestly, Ralph.
Oh,
Richard.
Good. Yeah. I love it. But my brother basically found out he was going to be a dad like a week before the baby arrived. And so they didn't have any names. So I was like, hear me out. We named the kid Pasta Pezzulo. We call him Pa for short. And he'll be the coolest kid of all time.
Logan's a cool fucking name.
Logan is a cool name. I like that.
I'm an X-Men nerd, so that hits me in the feels.
I love and the movie Logan was fire. So
good. I mean, I don't really show my room too often, but right there, Logan.
Yeah, because I'm a big comic book nerd too, so I love Old Man Logan was one of my favorite comic books. So I was very happy with that. But yeah,
Brian, I did highlight your comment. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, Brian.
Ego fed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've always so you were gonna name the kid Pa, like you were trying to yeah.
And my brother was okay with it, but everyone else said that's silly and stupid, so they didn't do it. So in retribution, I named my cat Pasta instead, and then now I call the kid still Baby Pasta. So he's gonna think now that he's named after a cat. So that's my long-lasting vengeance to them for not naming him Pasta to begin with. Is now there's cat Pasta and Baby Pasta.
Okay, I need to respond to something. My room is a mess partially because I am in a pandemic and furloughed, so I sleep and watch Sequester and drink, and talk to Rachel. That's my life. Yes, I know I'm a mess. Okay. Is there any other weird, quirky things about you that have not been brought up yet in Sequester, or like because like it's like that weird thing of like last week we found the treasure trove of Kevin Falk's baby videos, I like to call them. But like, is there anything like interesting about you that you don't mind revealing?
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think. That's the thing. I feel like they'll come up. Like I feel like there's weird things that I like, especially like knickknacks. I feel like I have a lot of knickknacks that people have been discovering, and like I post videos on my Twitter a lot,
Yeah.
and people afterwards will be like, "What is this thing?" Like recently, a baby doll was discovered in my background. I have a picture of John Stamos in my house.
Oh my God! Just framed on your desk.
Yeah.
Can you bring that a little closer to the camera? I just want to see a little bit better. Oh, that's like great. Like he's like staring at your soul. So you have like a John Stamos thing. That's cool.
Yeah. So it's like I do a lot for the bit. I think that's the thing is like a lot of things that have happened in my life. I feel like I do it and I take things to the extreme because if it's like again, if it's going to make someone laugh, my mission in life is always to spread the positivity and to make someone chuckle. You know, that's where I thrive and I enjoy that. I'm a big comic book guy. Big into. I think the biggest thing is just like, and I've talked about it a little bit, but like writing. Like I really love writing. I want to write young adult novels. So like that's like a big.
All these comments just popped in. What kind of young adult novels? Like romance novels or like Hunger Games stuff?
So I have two that I'm working on right now. The one is more based on like growing up in a town with like 60 kids, because for me, I watch these like young adult like high school movies, and it's always like big bougie high schools, and like that's just not what my experience was. Like our parties were in the back of someone's cabin where 40 of us were trying to fit in a tiny cabin, and then someone's vehicle would get stuck in the mud because we were in the back in the woods. Like that's my experience. So it's like I wanted to write a story about that, of like just the idea that everyone knows you, and also like inside of that it's kind of a love story of like the idea. Something I wanted to play with was a lot of times if a guy likes a girl, it's like, oh, the girl's gonna like him back. So like a lot of it's playing with like the ideas of the stereotypical idea of romance, and a lot of that stuff. And then the other one is more like your Divergent, your Hunger Games, where it's more post-apocalyptical, and it's dealing with like a society that was built based, around the idea that you could turn into a animal. So like each of these animals represents a job in the community, and you can turn into those. So yeah, that's there's basically our protagonist is not one of the original 5 animals. So they're trying to discover why he's different than everyone else. So
I dig the hell out of that. Marcelo asks a good question I have to bring up. Tommy, which High School Musical is your favorite, and why is the second one? Which I agree with Marcelo. The second is my favorite also.
The second is my favorite as well. But I will say, you know what I got into? High School Musical, the musical, the series. I kind of am a fan of it. It's silly, but
I haven't had a chance to watch it. It's like the only only original Disney Plus I've not watched yet. But
it's very kiddie, but I enjoyed my time with it.
I loved Prop Culture, which started like a month after. I really
like Prop Culture because I love that stuff. I love like movie. I always said they should have a movie museum, and I think they're opening the Oscars museum at some point. And that's
that was almost done when I was in LA last year.
Yeah, but I'm so fascinated by it. I mean, it's so cool, and it's also like with Prop Culture, it was so cool how they talked about like how Mary Poppins' bag was just in someone like how so many times props get lost or just like forgotten about, and I think that's like. I don't know. For me, I'm like, and it's something I talk. My roommate does like art, so he does like art design, specifically like dealing with like that sort of stuff. So props and everything. So it's like it's something that I'm a little knowledgeable of because he tells me all his random tricks and stuff. But it's cool. It's cool how they can make something into something else.
Yeah, I love it. I like it was just a really cool show, and like I love the Tron episodes. I'm not a big Tron person, but that was a really cool one. It was like there's a lot of
one though.
What?
It was a sad one a little bit with the director just but it was such a good one with like the frisbees and stuff, like just what they made that into. I mean, Tron is. I'm with you. I never was a big Tron fan, but I was so moved by how
what it tried to be.
Yeah, it was so above its time. I mean, it really was.
Getting ready to wrap up because I know we're at like 50 minutes, and I do love these episodes. Like this is like fucking incredible. Anything else you want to say before we start wrapping up?
No, I'm glad you could let me. I hope I didn't ramble too much, but
No. This is like a good running time. I'm like,
oh, you're
very
good,
happy.
Mark. Yeah, but I enjoyed my time. I always love talking to you, and we'll talk more. And I hope people enjoyed the wild ride we were on today.
Yeah, it was a wild one. If people want to follow you, they can easily do that right here. Tommy's Tidbits on Twitter, which I highly recommend. He does like a weekly affirmation video that really warms my heart, and I don't know of anyone that does not love it. And like he's just a really good person online, and also the Instagram, which I've been following recently too, tpez1. Yeah.
Yeah, follow me if you want. I try to tweet as much as I can. I'm getting a little bit better on the Instagram, but the Twitter is really where I'm thriving right now.
And that's where I'm at too. Also, if you want to follow the show, you know what to do. Like, subscribe. On Tuesdays, I just released my new episode of Mark Meets World with my friend Colleen Nugent. I'm recording tomorrow with my guest, which should be a very fun one. This week's episode was the episode where Topanga falls in love with Eric, and Corey thinks it's with Sean. Tomorrow, I'm actually going live for a very important thing for me. So that means the world to me. Tomorrow is my 5-year anniversary of my attempt, and also World Suicide Prevention Day. I will be talking frankly about my opinions on that 5 years later, and there'll be some resources on how to reach out to things depending on where you are. If you want to tune in, please do. Of course, your discretion is advised. Coming Friday, so that's not sad or anything. MarkTalk Brant Steel Day. I'm looking forward this week people that have never done it before. I'm doing a very specific season of Survivor for a reason. And next week will be an all-star season. So if you are a person that's done it before, you can start applying again after next week. But yeah. And Tommy's on like 3 times, I believe.
I know. I need to give others a break. I'm just online. Brand Still Tommy is just so excited to get that win. He's really crushed. He hasn't been able to get the Brand Still win yet.
I imagine you're going to be in one of the next 2 weeks. I imagine so. That's just coming from the person that cast those.
Which version though? Like Purple Tommy? Is it Purple Tommy? Is it Villain Tommy? There's just been multiple. Brand Still Tommy has had very many layers.
Because Villain Tommy didn't do that well, but Purple Tommy did pretty well.
Yeah.
And then last Tommy was just.
Last time he got an idol, but then got wanted not vote for Jennifer in a tie, or first boot Tommy.
Yeah. But that's how it happens sometimes. And of course, you want to follow me on Twitter at MarkLevy85. And also that's me on everything. If you want to find me on the Instagrams or whatever there. Tommy, this is an absolute pleasure, my friend.
It's always a pleasure to talk to you, Mark.
And I will see you guys tomorrow. I might start earlier than 4 tomorrow. I will let people know online if they want to watch that. But I will see you then. Bye.